today called "What Would Jesus Undo?" How many of you guys remember back in the day there were bracelets, WWJD? Anybody remember WWJD bracelets? We won Jack Daniels. Remember that one? No, we had those bracelets back then. They were like this reminder. What would Jesus do? But the history of that's a little more significant. There was a guy named Charles Sheldon in the late 1800s wrote a book called In His Steps. That means nothing to any of us except for the fact that it sold 30 million copies. That's a lot of copies of a book. When I was 13 or so, my youth pastor picked me up on Tuesday mornings and he said, "Hey, I tell you what, if you will read this book, I'll buy it for you." And I said, "Yeah, I'll try," and I read some, didn't read some, but every Tuesday morning he picked me up and we talked about that book and about what it meant to follow Jesus. And it was kind of the first real kind of insight into following Jesus, not just like doing the outside stuff. I grew up in a church where life was kind of prescribed, and we were really good and known for two things. The first thing we were known for was condemning people. That was really good. We were known for what we were against, not exactly the greatest way to reach people. And the second thing we were known for is, there was always going to be this like manipulative piece where they were going to pull on heartstrings and guilt or shame or yell and scream or scare you into a decision to follow Jesus. And it wasn't really my favorite part of it. It just kind of always felt me weird. And I always feel weird even as a leader getting to that point where I want to give people an opportunity to follow Jesus, because I'm so kind of got a little PTSD about the idea of following, getting people to that place and helping people have that opportunity. So I just want to warn you up front what's going to happen today. We're going to walk through some stuff that applies to all of us. And those of you who are followers of Jesus, you're going to get an opportunity to ask yourself, what would Jesus do? We're going to move forward and figure out kind of like, what is it that I'm going to identify as the next step? Today's a specific day. I want you to walk out of here with a next step to get rid of spiritual indifference in your life. The other thing that's going to happen as we kind of wrap things up is those of you who are here who are not sure, you're on the bubble on faith, you're kind of asking questions, you're pushing back maybe, or maybe you just are thinking, it's been a long time since I've really even considered that as an important part of my life. And I want to give you an opportunity to begin a relationship with Jesus today. So I just want to tell you that's out there, because I don't want to manipulate you or kind of land it in a way that pulls that out of you. I really want you to know what's going on, because we want to be respectful and careful with your life. But we want you to begin a relationship with Jesus because it's amazing, and it's the thing that will literally change everything in your life. It's great stuff. So here's the deal. WWJD bracelets. Remember those days? We'd wear those things, but the question we would often ask is, what would Jesus do? And we kind of became a people, and this is common in church, is we're far more considerate or careful about the things that we do than we are about who we are. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, but Jesus cares more about who you are than what you do. He cares more about who than do. And so we do care about some do things. There are some very important things that we should do. There are some things we shouldn't do. But the questions that we have to ask, at least during this series, is what would Jesus undo? So we're going to look at some of the things that we look through Scripture. We're going to sort through some of the words, some of the things that Jesus said, and we're going to talk about what would Jesus undo in our lives as we live them out day to day. What would Jesus undo in our lives? And I think one of the primary things that we'd wind up identifying is something called spiritual indifference. Now, I don't know about you. You live in the same world I do, but we're the meh kind of generation of people. We're like, what do you do this? I don't know. I like it. Do you like your job? How's your marriage? How's your relationship? You know how it goes. You know what it is. Whatever. We're not really into them, or we're not really out of them. We're not like it's terrible or it's great. We're like, whatever. I'll take it or leave it. I'm good with whatever. That's how we kind of are. Well, there's this book called Revelation, okay? Now, notice how I'm pronouncing it. It's not called Revelations, okay? It's called Revelation. There's only one Revelation. Just start correcting your thinking, okay? I have this friend, Hayden. He got this tattoo, got a tattoo of a verse from Revelation, and at the end of it, it said Revelations. And I said, no, there's only one. He's like, nah. What are you talking about? And I know it's just one revelation. It's not multiple. It's just one revelation. He's like, no, it's revelations. I'm like, I promise, man. Like, it's just kind of my thing, like, go look it up. He looks it up and he's like, oh crap. So then I go get the S colored out, So, but it's so crazy. But there's this book called Revelation, and it's a dream or a vision or revelation that God gives to a man named John, and John writes down these 7 letters that he writes, that Jesus is writing to these churches, different churches, and saying, here's what I see in you. Now, some of you love it. You're getting all geeked out because I'm talking about Revelation. You're like, oh man, I love Revelation. Because we're going to talk about when Jesus comes back. We're going to talk about what's in the end times, what is 7 heads and this crazy thing and what's going on. That's not what we're talking about. Okay? So just stop freaking out. Okay? This is stuff where we live, because there's far more about in Revelation, especially about the way you and I should live today, than there is about the thing that we should expect for tomorrow. So here's the thing that we've got to get. If we don't get how we live, what does it matter what we should expect? So when he walked through these things, there are these 7 letters that he writes to different churches. One of them, and he writes in Revelation chapter 3, is he writes this letter to a church called Laodicea. Now, I know that stuff sounds like, okay, I don't know, why do I need to know that? You need to know it for this reason, because it matters. Laodicea is a really important city in the time, okay? They're centered in this place where they're like, it's a very critical place, it's a very critical climate, they're really well known, there's a lot of wealth, a lot of good industry, they're really known for their tapestry, they made some medicine for eyes, they did all kinds of stuff, all based on that kind of that area, that physical area. There were 2 other key cities. There was one called Colossae, and one called Hierapolis, which I swear is where Superman must be from Heropolis, but it's not spelled that way, but it's not, because he's from Metropolis, okay? But so we've got Laodicea and Colossae and Hierapolis. But the thing we need to know about Laodicea is they had one really big struggle, and that was that they didn't have a really good water supply. So they didn't have a place where the water came from that was really dependable or good. There wasn't a lot of it, and so they were struggling. So they had to build this fairly extensive and expensive aqueduct system, I don't know how you say that word, but to get water from Hierapolis and Colossae. Colossae was known for these really cold water springs, right? And so they would get their cold water kind of piped in, right, from Colossae, and the Hierapolis was known, this other big city was known for its hot springs. So these hot springs would pop up, and they would pipe in the hot water, they would pipe in the cold water. Now you can imagine what happens when you put cold water into a pipe and it just travels over 6 miles. What happens? It warms up, right? And when you put hot water in a pipe and it travels over 6 or 7 miles, what happens? It gets cool. And by the time it got to Laodicea, the water is just kind of like meh, it's just kind of lukewarm. And here's the other problem: hot water springs, cold water springs, all feeding into these pipes. They didn't have PVC back then, so by the time it traveled slowly through 6, 7 miles of area through these pipes that were handmade, guess what? Now it's lukewarm and dirty and minerals. They had to put out cleanups all throughout it, like manholes, where they'd pull it off and they'd have to be able to clean out the deposits because the minerals would build up. So you can imagine that the water supply, the natural water supply in Laodicea was just pretty crappy. It wasn't something that you'd want to just take and untreated or undealt with, would not want to put into your mouth. It's not something that you would ingest. So that's where we land in Revelation 3, because Jesus is writing this letter to these people, and he says, I know all the things that you do, that you are neither hot nor cold. Now you see where we're getting at it, right? Because he's talking to these people, and they know all about hot water or cold water. You're neither hot water or cold water. I wish that you were one or the other. But since you're lukewarm water, I will neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. It's a big deal. Because he speaks specifically to them about their lives using an analogy that they're extremely familiar with. And it's far more volatile analogy than you and I would get. When we hear these kinds of words, we're I don't know, lukewarm's not that big of a deal, right? I mean, I guess lukewarm's not, you got some cold water. Some of you are like, I kind of like lukewarm water. But that's not what he's talking about. It's not just about the temperature. It's about this putrid mess of water, this dirtiness that he's talking about, that he's comparing to them. He said, if you were hot like you were back there in Hierapolis, man, that water is medicinal and valuable, and it's good for you, and you can soak in it. Or if you were cold water like in Colossae, like if it was like they are, where it still is very refreshing and it's exciting, but you're kind of just in the middle. You're this mess. You're nothing of consequence, and because you're lukewarm, I want to spit you out of my mouth. You want, he really kind of lays it on thick here. In fact, there are 7 letters to 7 different churches, and this is the only letter that he writes to the 7 churches where he has nothing good to say. He has no positive things to say to them because they have something that is putrid to Jesus. He's like, listen, I don't want to see this in you. It's terrible. And it's what he calls it is lukewarm. What we would think of it as spiritually indifferent. We're just kind of like, I don't know. How's your walk with Jesus? I get up, I go to church, I do the things, I check the boxes, I go through the motions, I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm just not sure that it really matters, whatever. I'm just, it is what it is, right? But we have to understand that this stuff, this idea of our spiritual mediocrity, where we're not excited about it or passive about it, we're just kind of in the middle somewhere, just kind of living it out, doing day-to-day stuff. That is not only is that's not something that Jesus is on the side of, it's something that he doesn't want for you. He wants something much greater for you. In fact, he said that he came, John chapter 10, verse 10 said, I came so that you might have life and have it to the full, abundantly. He wants you and I to have a life that's kind of off the chain. He wants us to have a life that lives out in passion, not, sure, why not? Right? He wants something much bigger and better for us. So how do we get from a Jesus that wants greatness for us, but we get to this place where it's kind of passive and I'll tell you what causes that. I see it here played out in this passage, and it's really just obvious to you and I. The first thing is that we have this illusion of self-sufficiency. Like we've got it all taken care of. Look at the next verse. It says this, you say, I'm rich. I have everything I want. I don't need a thing. You don't realize that you're wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. That's quite a statement, right? You're wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. Those are not nice words. So he gets this idea that we have in our lives that causes this is that we feel like we've got what it takes. I'm rich. I got everything I need. I don't really need anything. Do you ever feel like that? I know you wouldn't say those things, but there is that part of us that just knows that there's something in us that goes, well, I don't really need Jesus. The reason why we see such faith in people that martyred for their faith is because they don't have anything else. We have so much stuff, we don't really need anything. We don't really need all this stuff. And sometimes we kind of, even in our pride and in our existence, we go, I don't really need God to bless me financially because to be truthful, I've got it. I've got income, I've got stuff, I can make things happen. We have this illusion of self-sufficiency. The second thing I think that causes that is the idea of the distractions of this world. It's so easy to get distracted, isn't it? I mean, it's so simple to go, man, well, just put it this way. Ask somebody how they're doing. What do they say? Oh, I'm so busy. I mean, we all say it, right? Even if we're not busy. Like, I know people who are very much not busy. How are you doing? Oh, I'm just so busy. What do you do? I don't know. Like, we all know, seriously, you're busy, I'm busy. Why are we busy? I just work a lot. How much are you working? 8, 10 hours a day, maybe? That's something, but we all do that, right? So what are we busy doing? The problem is that we can't always even identify what we're busy doing. Half the time we're busy with stuff we can't even really put our finger on. We've got these cool smartphones that were supposed to make our life easier. They're not easier. They're certainly not less complicated, is it? I get these things and I have a notification right now. It's killing me not to click on it, right? Because the truth is we're constantly into something. We're constantly doing something. We're constantly involved. And the distractions of this world get to a place where we're like, look, I've got everything I need, right? I've got it all taken care of. I got the new iPhone. I got my iPhone upgraded, so that's good. You're right? I got a nice car. Car's running good. I got a house, right? I got Netflix. I got chill. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the truth is that, like, we get to this part of our life where we're like, man, like, I got everything I need, and I don't really need anything from anyone else. I'm just busy with all the distractions. Isn't it easy to become indifferent spiritually? Isn't it easy to become lukewarm when we're so wrapped up in all this other stuff? I think the third thing that kind of contributes to that is the truth that you and I believe the lies of the enemy. The enemy tells us that this world right now, today, that your life in and out of today, that your influence in other people's lives, your actions, your behavior, all those things, the enemy tells us that those things don't matter. He kind of gets us to the point where we're lulled to sleep today and go, you know what, one day out there, that you know, when Jesus comes back, you can worry about eternity then. Right now, just live out here. I want you to know something. This is huge, and this is going to sound a little preachy, but it's droves and droves and droves of Christians warehoused in churches, sitting in chairs, just like you're sitting in, just plugging away. Concerned, yep, Jesus is coming back one day, and one day it'll matter. There's eternity, and here's today, and we're more concerned about, like, one day maybe than we are how we live out today. We're so concerned about how we feel comfortable today. But here's the thing that you and I have to get to, is that we've got to understand the lies that the enemy has been telling us that peel off this false reality that you and I are just supposed to live out today and somehow survive. Jesus wants far more for you than that. It's one of the problems within church, isn't it? Is that we have a tendency to get this reputation that the church wants something from you. You know how that works? Like, the church just wants something from me. I want your time. We want your money. We want your stuff, whatever, right? But the truth is, and we've been very intentional, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but the truth is we've been very intentional to push this messaging forward in our lives. Jesus doesn't want volunteering or money from us. He wants it for you. He came so that you might have life and have it abundantly. So we got this problem that we know that this isn't the life that God wants us to have. He doesn't want us to be lukewarm. He doesn't want us to be this putrid, kind of tepid, dirty, kind of content with just kind of what's happening in our life. And we know what causes it. So the question we have to deal with is, how would I know if I am dealing with some kind of complacency, some sort of spiritual, like, indifference in my life? How would you know? How would you and I know if we're lukewarm? I put together just a few indicators. Maybe ask yourself if any of these apply to you. And if they do, you've got some lukewarmness in you. Okay? So the first one I would say is, I'm more concerned about now than I am then. I'm more concerned about my stuff now. I'm more concerned about my relationships right now. I'm more concerned about my money right now. I'm more concerned about the car I drive now than I am concerned about eternity, about how this whole thing plays out for the glory of God. Like, if I'm more concerned about today and my stuff and my comfort than I am what Jesus is doing and how the big picture plays out, then we've got some lukewarmness in us. The second thing is, I can find a way to justify sin. Have you ever found a way to justify sin? You don't have to answer that question. It's all good, right? Like, we find a way to say it's okay. I know that sex outside of marriage is wrong, but we've been together a long time and it's kind of the same thing. No, it's not. Like, I know that this is the case, but, you know, I follow most of the Bible. I just kind of skip those couple of passages, right? Or here's my favorite one. And I do it too, so I'm not pushing fingers at you, right? I know it's not right, but everybody's got something, don't we? I mean, we're all broken. We're all sinners, and that's true. Absolutely true. We're all sinners, but God doesn't want that for our lives. He doesn't want that for us. He wants us to have a life that's worth living, so we can't be people who find a way to figure out a loophole around sin. If you can do that, you got a little bit of that spiritual lukewarmness in you. And how about another one? Is I use Jesus more like a spare tire than a steering wheel. You know, like, you're the kind of person who goes, man, if all else fails, pray, right? How about not waiting until then? Like, how about not waiting to involve Jesus in it until the wheels have fallen off? What if we were to, instead of using Jesus like, oh man, I blew out life, I need to go out and get Jesus to come in here and fix this, and go, hey Jesus, you remember me? We've all prayed that one at some point. You remember me? I'm Jeremy. I used to hang out with you. But we don't need to run to the trunk to get Jesus. We need to walk with him. And because we use him like a steering wheel instead of a spare tire, it matters in our life. If you're doing that, you can identify maybe there's a little bit of that kind of lukewarmness, that spiritual indifference in your life. Fourth one, maybe I believe in Jesus, but I rarely share my faith. Man, you're going, man, I believe, I love going to church. I love being a part of it. I get my church on. I go and hang out. I feel good. I walk out of here, and I believe all this stuff, and I agree, and I'm so into it, and I take notes, and I'm so excited about it, but I rarely share my faith. We try to make it as easy as possible for you to share your faith around here. We try to do church in a way that doesn't feel like people have to go figure out a whole new language to show up, right? We try to do church in a way where they're like, man, it's exciting to be a part of it. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you to reach people who don't know Jesus. We want you to invest in their life and invite them to be a part of church. It's the best strategy we can ever imagine for you to be able to do it, because we want to put these tools right in front of you, and you believe this stuff, but you find it difficult, or you rarely share your faith. So maybe we just take some of those things and we start to identify them, and we start to look at it, and you realize pretty quickly, at least I do in my life, that all four of those are a part of my life. All four of those. So probably my guess is that every one of us have some spiritual indifference, some parts of our life that we're going, man, I'm just kind of lukewarm on that one deal. So how is it that you and I go from the place in our life where we know that's not what Jesus has for us, we know what causes it, right? We know that we have it. How do we break the grip of indifference? How do we break the grip that's because it's so comfortable to be indifferent, isn't it? Until you start to recognize that's not what Jesus not only wants from you, but it's what he wants, is not what he wants for you. He wants a life that's better than that. The life he came to give you was not one where you get into church right on time and you check the boxes and you sit down when you're supposed to sit down and stand up when you're supposed to stand up. The life that Jesus wants for you isn't one where you just kind of jump through the hoops and get through it and go, yeah, it's fine. What he wants for you is abundance, joy. He wants for you something that you can't give yourself, something that's far, far better. So how do we get there? I'd say the first thing that we do is we got to realize that there's something more. The enemy's put this weighted blanket on our shoulders that tells us that this is it. You're just supposed to go through the motions now. I was raised in a church now that I kind of refer to or think of as the believe and behave church. Now, what I mean by that is that they wanted you to believe in Jesus. At some point, we wanted you to raise your hand or walk an aisle or get in some water or do something like that. I wanted you to check the boxes and do the things. And then after that, your job was mainly to behave. It was just to mind your manners until you die, right? And I had been in that system for a long, long time. Growing up, and I had been around it for most of my life. Until about probably 3 or 4 years ago, probably right after we moved in here. I got to a place where we'd gotten to build the building, we're in here, and I'm going, well, I guess we're here now. It's pretty easy just to kind of be, here's me. I believed all the things that we're supposed to believe. And I behaved. I'm a decent person. I'm not doing anything substantially wrong. And so I got to a place in my walk with God where I'm like, well, I guess I could just get up tomorrow and behave, mind my manners. And I kind of felt this weighted blanket hanging over my shoulders, this weight that just said, do this. But wait a minute, what if there's something more? What did it just feel like to live out the real life that Jesus wanted me to live? What would it feel like? What would it be like in my real everyday life if I started to experience this abundant life, this kind of crazy, amazing, vibrant life, instead of just the kind of well, I guess I could get up tomorrow and not be a bad person some more, there's something more. There's something more that's available to us that God wants for us than just the behavior modification that he wants from us. Now, I don't want you to misunderstand me. I think those things are vital. Believing in Jesus, behaving, those are important things, but we can't stop there. There's got to be something more in your life than just rationalizing a bunch of thoughts or modifying your behavior. Walking with Jesus is what matters. There's got to be something more. And the second thing I'd say, and I'm not big on lists of step 1, step 2, step 3. These are just a couple of thoughts. The second thing I'd say is take a next step, even if you don't understand what it is all the time. Here's what I mean. We exist at Journey to help people, just like you and me, take our next step toward Jesus. We chose those words intentionally. We want to help you take your next step. At Journey, your most important step is your next one. Whatever you were taking, whatever your last step was, that was the most important one until you took it. And now it's the next one. Today, I told you earlier, I'm going to ask some of you to make a decision to say, I want to follow Jesus. I want to begin a relationship with Jesus today. And today, that's the most important step you'll ever take until tomorrow. And then the next one's the most important. It's a beginning of a relationship. So here's the deal. We offer you, sometimes we'll talk about, we want you to serve on a team. The tendency is to think that we want you to serve on a ministry team because we need you to volunteer, and we do. There's lots of great stuff going on around here, and I think there's nothing better than to partner with God in ministry at Journey Church. I don't think you can find a better place. Or I wouldn't be here. I'd be at that place, right? So here's the thing. I think that that's great, and we do want something from you, but here's the deal. We want it for you. Like, I know you don't always understand it. Like, I don't know, well, how is being a greeter going to matter? How is making some coffee or holding a kid in a nursery or playing with teaching our elementary area or working in here playing it? How's that going to make a difference in my life? It seems like I give. But here's the great thing. We want those next steps for you because they give you an opportunity for you to not only get behind what God's doing with both shoulders, but it gives you an opportunity to be alongside and do this with other people. You build relationships. I talked with 2 ladies today who greeted for the first time they got on a team. And one of them walked in the door. I hadn't met them yet. They've only been going here a month or so. And I said, hey, I don't think we've met yet. Is this your first Sunday there? She said, no, I've been coming a little bit, but I'm just starting. I'm going to greet today. I said, I'm sorry, we haven't met yet. And she said, that's okay. I usually come in and out of church. I just flash in, flash out. I said, well, I'm glad you're stopping flashing us today. That's good. It's really helpful. So that's good. So, but today she gets an opportunity not only to be behind what God's doing and push with both shoulders, but she gets to meet new people and care about what God's doing and being a part of their life. We get to do this together. So I want you to take next steps, even if you don't always understand them. We talk a lot about giving. There's another one where you kind of get a reputation. Well, you just want my money when you talk about giving. No, that's not it. I promise you it's not it. I believe that God could do something amazing if we had 500 or 600 people whose hearts were in the right place and their hearts were in the right place. That's what matters. And Jesus tells us that where our money is, that's where our heart is. And where we put our money, our heart goes. And our heart is tied to it. If you put your money there, guess where your heart's going to go? Your heart will follow it. You put your heart there, your money will follow it. They go together. So here's the deal. I believe that God could do something amazing with 500 or 600 people whose hearts are in the right place. If you believe that I want this from you, and you're just like, I don't trust you, then I tell you what, seriously, Google church, pick a church. They almost all have a give online thing. Give your money there. You worship and follow Jesus, and God wants your heart. This is not about dollars and pennies. It's about faith and obedience. It's always been about faith and obedience because you and I get a chance to serve together. So take a next step, even when you don't always understand it. So maybe you're coming, you're like, I don't ever give. I just show up to church. Maybe just start giving. Maybe for the first time, just give a little bit, right? Or maybe you kind of come in and you're like a tipper, right? You're like, hey, that was a good show. Here you go, right? You just kind of give a little bit, you know? Maybe you choose to say, you know what, instead of doing that, I'm just going to choose to move from a dollar amount to a percentage amount. It's not much, no change in dollars, really. Just to say, I want to acknowledge that's this percentage of my income. Maybe you move to 0.5%, 1%. And then maybe from there you go, all right, you know, I'm going to choose to move from 1% to 1.5%. And you begin to move. Listen, we're not wanting you to show up and arrive. If you can't do it all, you can't do anything. We want you to participate. Because to you, to me, you are a hero when you begin to participate. Because what really is happening in our lives is that we get an opportunity to participate with God. And when you do that, it stretches you. And it gets you out of that spiritual indifference. So choose to believe there's something more. Choose to take a next step, even if you don't understand it all the way. And the third thing I'd say is do something that requires faith. Do something every single day that requires faith. I'm going to say it again because I want you to hear this. Do something every single day that requires faith. I made a little list, like stuff you could do. Somebody's hurting. Instead of just feeling sorry for him or telling him I'm sorry, or not knowing what to say, just say, you know what, I want to pray for you. Again, here's a big step. You want big faith? Put your arm around him and pray for him right then. Just say, you know, can we pray together real quick? Man, some of you are like, that's freaking me out. It takes faith, right? You can't be spiritually indifferent and praying for somebody, right? And maybe instead of just commenting prayers going up on their Facebook thing, you know, you realize that's a high five, right? Okay, but instead of just saying prayers going up, maybe you just say, you know what, I'm going to stop right now and pray for you. And you choose to do it. Don't lie to people about praying for them, by the way. It's a terrible thing, right? And I'm praying for you. No, I'm not. But choose to say, I'm going to pray for you, and then do it. It requires faith to believe it. And then set a reminder to check back in. Hey, I just want to check and see, how's your mom doing? How's this going in your life? It takes faith. It takes effort. It takes you walking with Jesus and depending and believing that he can do it. Do something every day that requires faith. Take a risk that scares you. Maybe it's a risk with your kids. Maybe it's a risk with your spouse. Maybe it's a risk financially. Take a risk that it terrifies you. And it puts you in a place where you are completely and totally dependent on God showing up or it won't work. Take a risk that scares you. Another thing I was thinking is that we gave you those cards last week. Buy a meal for someone. I mean, there's, like, if you didn't get one last week, we've got them at the Welcome Center out there. If you just walk out there and grab one of those. But we've got these cards, and they've got all the items you need to buy for a Thanksgiving meal for somebody. I would love us to give away so many meals that we gather together that I would love us to run out of space to store them, and we don't know who to give them to. I promise I will find someone to give it to. You just buy the stuff for it. It takes faith, right? You got to go fill it out on your click list and run to Walmart and pick it up. You buy all the items, bring them here, and give us enough money. You'll see the instructions on the back so that we can buy a turkey. And we'll put all that stuff together and we'll take it to people who are in need. And they will know that God is for them because you and I serve them. And that's a huge opportunity. It takes faith. It'll not only serve them and care for them, it'll pull you out of your spiritual indifference. Here's this great thing at the very end of this passage, Revelation 3:20. Now remember, I told you before, we were really good at two things: condemning other people, right, and being spiritually manipulative. There was a third thing we were really good at: taking verses that were condemning of us and making it really about somebody else. And we did that with this one. You've heard it before. It says, look, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and I will share a meal together as friends. You know how many times I've heard that verse? I've never heard it in the right context, because this verse isn't about people who are far from God coming to know Jesus. This verse is written to the church, to a church that's not very good at being a church. But he says to them, listen, I stand at the door, I'm knocking. And it's a constant knocking. It's the perfect tense of the verb. I'm knocking. I'm not knocking until you answer. I'm constantly knocking because I constantly want to be in relationship with you. I'm always here to be in relationship with you. So here's the invitation to those of us who call ourselves followers of Jesus. That God, Jesus, stands at the door of your heart and knocks and wants to walk in and have a conversation, a relationship with you. And he detests our spiritual indifference. Take a step, even if you don't understand it. Choose to take a risk that scares you. Do something every day that requires faith, and you'll find your way out of that indifference. But you know what? That verse does apply to you if you're here today and you're not sure about this whole faith story, Jesus thing yet. Maybe your relationship with God is a lot like mine was. Like when I was 7 years old, I gave my 7-year-old life to Jesus. I just kept the rest for me. You know, I'm like, I'm good, right? Like I got checked the boxes back there, but I didn't do much with it after that. So let me just speak to you. That same truth is available today to you. I want to be careful not to pull at your heartstrings, right? I know there's music kind of playing, but that's really just to give you this focused moment to help you evaluate you and your relationship with Jesus. Where are you today when it comes to following Jesus? Is it, I did that one day and I'm good? Well, I got news for you. It's not where he wants you to be. It's not what he wants for you. You need to begin a relationship with Jesus. The very best way you can do that is to recognize it. Just to say it out loud to him. Just say, God, I need this from you. I know that I'm broken. I know that you gave your life for me. I know that you want to give me life. And I want it. That's all that it takes to begin a relationship with Jesus. So here's the deal. Now, we do this sometimes, and we don't do it very often in Journey because I'm a little kind of nervous about it sometimes. But I want everybody in the room to just close your eyes and don't look around. Now, we're not doing that because somebody's doing something special. I just want to give you the privacy that you need, because those of you who are here today, who are on the bubble on this whole thing, you're not sure about Jesus, you're not sure about starting a relationship with him, you kind of figure, I checked the boxes sometime when I was a kid, and I haven't really thought about it since then. Maybe you're at that place. The reason no one is looking around right now is for you, so that you have privacy, that you have just you and God. So here's what I want to offer. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to do this. If this is something that you want to do, that you're like, man, I want to give my life to Jesus. I'm tired of just taking what I want from him. If that's your story, if you want to give your life to Jesus, you want to start a relationship with him today, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to slip your hand up so that I can see it, not because I need to be in your business, but because it just gives you something specific to do so that you can begin to put a stake in the ground and say, I'm beginning right now. So consider it. Is that where you're at today? Just slip your hand up so I can see it real quick. Just thank you. Back, thank you. Thank you. 5, thank you. Anybody else over here on the right, my right? Yes, 6, thank you. Buddy? Now listen, that's not required. I mean, you're not going to find a Bible, thou shalt raise your hand when somebody asks you to, right? I mean, it's not there. It's literally just a way of expressing faith. What really matters isn't that you tell me you want to follow Jesus. It really matters that you tell Jesus that you want to follow Jesus. So understand something. There's about half a dozen of you in here who said, man, I want to follow Jesus. So let's take some steps. So maybe you just pick that card up that you said, now listen, I want you to take this step. Sincerely do this. That card they gave you, Mark, I want to begin a relationship with Jesus. Or you can go to ourjourney.news and click on that connection card and write, I want to follow Jesus. And you just let us know. We want to help you take your next step toward Jesus. It doesn't matter if you didn't raise your hand. You're not like into that. You're scared. I get it. I wouldn't either. But if that's your story, then don't raise your hand. Just fill out the card. Would you just let us know so that we can help you take your next step? We want to celebrate the most amazing, the most important step you can take right now is this one. But guess what? Tomorrow, the most important one that you'll take will be the next one. Let's pray together, and then we're going to sing this song, give you a place to kind of drive in a stake. Jesus, thank you for today. Thank you for these people. Thank you for the faith that it takes to step up and step out and follow you. And God, we just trust your goodness and your mercy, your provision for us. We know it takes risk. And I just thank you again, your Holy Spirit, for all these folks that are literally coming to the altar and giving their life to you. And we ask that in your name.